When you speak to some Naruto fans, one thing that you'll often hear is that Naruto is a super powerful shinobi who saved the world multiple times, fighting on people like Pain and Madara, Kaguya, Tsunade, Momoshiki, and Ishiki, but that's not what truly makes Naruto great. In fact, what truly makes Naruto Uzumaki great isn't even him bringing about a sense of stability and peace to the 5 major nations, which that might be a super hot take, and it's one that I will die on that hill for, but allow me to explain why I say that. In my opinion, the way that you measure greatness of a man isn't by the things that he's accomplished or even what other people say about him, because those things can be manufactured, but instead you measure him by the impact that he's had on others. In particular, when you measure the progress that those people have made after he's come into contact with them in their lives and inspired them to do something better for themselves, to want something better for themselves in particular. There is no better example of this than Naruto's impact on Hinata Hyuga, the young schoolgirl who used to hide in the shadows, watching him from afar, twiddling her thumbs whenever she saw Naruto, but in the manga was too shy to speak to him for most of the story, but through several interesting narrative choices ended up capturing his heart and becoming the mother of his children. Hinata Hyuga, and the way that she was inspired by Naruto, is what I believe is some of the strongest, if not the strongest bit of evidence of the greatness of Naruto Uzumaki, because what it represents is more than just a love story by 2 individuals that the Naruto the Last movie tells us are connected by the red string of fate, the Japanese belief that 2 people who are destined to be together as lovers regardless of a place or a time or circumstances. The red string tied to their pinkies will bend, it'll stretch, and it'll tie into knots, but it will never break apart and sever the bond between those 2 soulmates. If we were to boil Naruto and Hinata down to something like that, it is a grave disservice to the writing itself. As is often the case with us in our everyday lives, we never truly know when someone is watching us, looking to us for a sense of guidance or stability or curiosity, inspiration, or even romantically. It's why we're told to put our best foot forward and to present our best selves as possible. Yet, as we each journey through this thing that we call life, we all stumble and bumble our way through the marathon in order to reach the finish line of life. When we arrive, we're tired, we're bruised, we're battered, we're broken, and if we're lucky, we leave this world having been loved by people who come from other than our family unit that we're born into. However, it's during those early stages of our life, and even when we think that we've hit our stride, that we realize that we don't have it all figured out, that the amount of hard work that we put in and the time that we put in, it hasn't truly turned out the way that we want it. And yet the whole time, unbeknownst to us, there's someone watching us go through our trials and tribulations. They're watching us to see, how do we handle adversity? How do we handle it when things aren't going our way? They're watching us to see the process of how we become the person that we're destined to become. For Naruto, the Jinchuriki, the Nine Tails, he was hated at a young age from the moment that Danzo leaked it out that he was the Jinchuriki, the Nine Tails. He wasn't ever truly talented in the ways that we typically measure talent. By all socially accepted measure, Naruto was as useless gets. He couldn't perform a simple clone jutsu, a mere yin release jutsu that makes a mirror image of himself with no physical properties, and he couldn't even pronounce the word chakra correctly. He probably couldn't even spell it, even if he sounded out the letters. Yet despite this, Naruto still found himself declaring openly to anyone who would listen to him, I'm going to be the Hokage one day. It was a bold aspiration and an even bolder declaration. To be the Hokage means to be the most respected shinobi in your village, to be viewed traditionally as the strongest ninja in the village, and when compared to the other Kage of the 5 nations, the Hokage has traditionally been the strongest of the 5 Kage. At least this was the case for the first 7 generations, since you can make a debate on how strong the current 8th Hokage Shikamaru is. It was a title that many people, they aspired to claim, like the young boy Minakura, the boy we meet in Naruto Volume 28 running through the streets, that we're told in Naruto Databook 3 had dreams of becoming Hokage. In the same chapter that Konohamaru tells Tsunade that he's going to be Hokage after Naruto becomes the 6th Hokage, many people, they have wanted that dream of Hokage, but due to the high qualifications needed to claim that title, for most people that was merely a dream, one that never actually gets accomplished. Out of the thousands of Konoha shinobi that we've had in the 70 years since the village has been founded, only 8 people have ever become Hokage. Only 9 people have ever been named achieve the Hokage when you count Danzo. When you look at the academy student Naruto declaring that he was going to be Hokage, it was easy to say that this was going to be the case for him as well, that he would just fall to the bottom of the wayside. Yet when everyone else looked at him and they laughed at the dumbest kid in the academy claiming that he'd be the Hokage one day, Hinata watched from behind corners, she watched behind dumpsters, she watched behind buildings, she looked through walls with her Byakugan, and she saw Naruto and she believed in his dream. She acknowledged him long before Master Iruka ever acknowledged him in the manga lore. What Hinata saw from Naruto working day in and day out, spending hours upon hours working on things he had no natural talent for, like being unable to throw a shuriken straight or being unable to draw his way out of a paper bag even with GPS assistance. Hinata saw Naruto with bloody fingers from throwing shuriken and working with kunai repeatedly to improve his skills, and she saw that never give up attitude, and she became the first person in the village to say Naruto might be as big of a long shot to become Hokage as a three-legged blind horse race is to win the Kentucky Derby. But what she saw made her believe that Naruto was going to do the very thing he set out to do the impossible, become the Hokage. It was during a time where Naruto himself didn't even know he was being watched, when he was still figuring out his own strengths that were buried beneath a mountain of weaknesses that were too many to waste time listing this video, otherwise this video would never end. Naruto, through his hard work and efforts, was inspiring someone else to set down that path as well. Ironically, he was inspiring someone who on paper would be one of the very people who many people would bet on one day to become a very capable shinobi. Hinata Hyuga was the opposite of Naruto. She was born into the Hyuga clan, the clan stated to be the strongest clan of the Hidden Leaf Village and one of the four noble clans of Konoha, joining the mighty Uchiha clan, the Akamichi clan, and the Aburame clan as being Hidden Leaf Village royalty. Hinata Hyuga, the girl born with the Byakugan, which can see the chakra pathway system and has near 360-degree field of vision. Hinata Hyuga, the girl not just born with the Byakugan, but also born into the Hyuga clan's main branch, which means that she would eventually be taught the main branch's hidden jutsu, the gentle fist fighting style, and the rotation jutsu. Both are hidden jutsu passed down to only those with the Byakugan Kekkei Genkai and who have been born into the main branch itself. Hinata had all the markings of being that trophy horse who wins the races in front of her, and yet it was the opposite. Hinata, while she wasn't as big of a failure as Naruto, she could at the very least tell you that if you put 2 plus 2 together, it wasn't 6. However, she wasn't living up to expectations. Despite being 5 years younger than her sister Hanabi, Hinata found herself in the manga getting slapped up by her sister in sparring matches to a point where her own father looked at Hinata and practically disowned her when Kurenai came to speak to him about Hinata becoming a ninja. When told that his daughter would be embarking on a journey that very well could have her killed, Hiyashi Hyuga basically said his daughter can go be the best ninja she wanted to be, and if she got herself killed, he didn't particularly care because the person he was making his heir would be her younger sister Hanabi, who was 5 years younger, and at the time she appeared to have a better ceiling than Hinata. It was a huge stark difference to how she was being viewed just a few years prior. When the Hyuga incident occurred and the head ninja from the Cloud Village came to kidnap Hinata, and her father valued her so much that he killed him, risking a war between the Leaf Village and the Cloud Village for his daughter's well-being. Somewhere between the years of that occurring, Hinata had lost her appeal as being something valuable to her father. He was willing to trade her away as quickly as you or I might swipe off of a YouTube short if it doesn't hold our attention or if it doesn't live up to the value promised. Yet despite this, Hinata set down the road determined to endure everything, because for as bad as her situation was, she watched as a young Naruto endured way much worse and still never lost sight of his goal to be Hokage. With each brick that Naruto stacked on the road he was paving to be Hokage, Hinata never took her eyes off Naruto, and seeing someone who had it way much worse than her continue to push forward, she continued on with herself. It's what made the battle with her cousin Neji so brutal to watch. It was clear from the moment the two began to square off that Neji was the apex predator looking at his prey, and Hinata was a wounded deer looking with big doe eyes and waiting for the inevitable to happen, and yet this wounded deer fought back with every fiber of her being. She endured blow after brutal blow. She endured all the hatred for the main branch that Neji had. She endured all the anger towards her, anger she did nothing to deserve, and she continued to stand up, and she continued to never give up, because she was finally being watched by the very boys she had spent most of her life watching in her free time, thinking about in her free time, and likely even dreaming about him in her free time. She finally had the attention of Naruto, and she didn't want to give up because it was her turn to inspire him, even if she didn't do it in a way that she might have originally wanted. The battle with Neji, it forced Naruto to dip his hands in the blood of Hinata and essentially make a blood oath for Hinata's honor, not just as a shinobi, but also as a person, vowing to defeat Neji, vowing to show that Hinata's life, it did matter, to show that underdogs, they can indeed triumph, that not everything is decided by genetics and by fate. Had Naruto never inspired Hinata, Hinata never would have gotten this far in the Chunin exams, and she never would have been there to give him the words of encouragement that he needed when he went to face Neji in the final rounds. Words of encouragement that settled the nerves of a young shinobi who had every reason to begin doubting himself and begin wondering if his dream was just that, a dream, when he was thrust on the biggest stage of his life at that point in time, thoroughly outclassed in every measurable way, fighting against Neji under the watchful eyes of the third Hokage. That's not to say that Naruto would have given up when he fought against Neji. He would have continued fighting, but the effect of Hinata's words it had on him before that battle and the memory of what happened to her during that qualifying round, it played a huge role in Naruto's fighting spirit being raised. None of that happens if Naruto never inspired Hinata, which means Naruto doesn't defeat Neji, and in turn doesn't begin to set Neji on a path where he's finally freed of his own hatred, and in turn becomes willing to not look down on Hinata as being inferior to him, but instead look at her with the open mindfulness that she is the daughter of his clan leader and that she was in need of being trained up, that he could provide assistance to her to make her into a better shinobi. Neji, as we saw in Naruto Volume 27, he was training with Hinata and her father, working with her on her skill and accepting her hospitality when she brought out refreshments to him and her father during Neji's separate sparring match with Hinata's father, and it would be because Hinata found inspiration watching Naruto from his back that it would lead to the very shot that is overlooked by a lot of Naruto fans. When Naruto in Naruto chapter 238 is shown making a fist at Minato's Hokage monument face, making the unspoken vow yet again to be Hokage, Hinata is the last person shown looking at a 13-year-old Naruto, watching him as he's running after Jiraiya to begin his training during the 2.5-year Naruto time skip between Naruto manga volumes 27 and 28. Hinata vows to get back to work herself, once again inspired by Naruto by watching his back. When Naruto didn't realize it, he was inspiring someone to become someone who overcomes their own circumstances and inspiring them to not just watch from his back, but build herself up to where she could support him, to be there at his side, to share with his burden that he would have to endure on his journey to become Hokage. That ultimately led to the events of the Pain arc. 3.5 years after Naruto left the village to go train with Jiraiya, Hinata wasn't able to fight at Naruto's side. Nobody in the village was able to fight at his side. Once it became clear that Naruto had mastered Sage Mode, everyone was ordered to stay away because Naruto was in a different tier of power that nobody else in the village who wasn't suffering from injuries would ever hope to be able to attain to assist him. Trying to stand by someone as strong as Naruto was at that point would only lead to their weakness being used against Naruto, and yet despite this, Hinata went from once again watching from afar to rushing to the battlefield to support Naruto, despite being outmatched and forced to do several twirly twirls through the air and getting a long and thick black rod shoved in her body that pushed her guts in while Naruto watched helplessly as pain violated her right in front of him. It made no logical sense, and yet it made all the sense in the world. Hinata had already watched Naruto endure so much on his own that nobody should have to ever hope to endure, and symbolically and through the benefit of hindsight, we know that we were seeing the red string of fate at work here. That red string, it doesn't bend, it doesn't break, even after being tied in the knots and being pulled too hard. Hinata rushed to save Naruto right when Naruto himself was about to break. Being defeated by Pain's cycle of hatred speech, Naruto saw Pain impale her, and yet it was her sacrifice where Naruto saw Pain impale her with his black rod and leave her in a puddle of her own fluids that Naruto Naruto found the urge to fight yet again. Though he gave into his rage, that rage led to him meeting his father and finding himself again before he would go on to defeat pain in battle. Once again, Naruto, had he never inspired Hinata, this never would have happened. If she was never inspired by him and predisposed to watch his every move, to be so in sync with him that her own breathing probably matched Naruto's breathing. When Naruto sneezed, she probably sneezed as well. She wouldn't have been watching him with her Byakugan as close as she was. She would have been like the Hyuga who was standing there with Sakura, cutting his Byakugan on and off and giving updates on the situation and standing by like a good little soldier like they were ordered. It was only because Hinata never cut off her Byakugan and because she never took her eyes off of Naruto's battle that she never took her eyes off of Naruto himself. She saw the moment that Naruto fell in battle and was beginning to lose his way, and she rushed forward before anyone else because she was the only one watching Naruto closely. Once again, in the 4th Great Ninja War, when Neji dies in the arms of Naruto and Hinata after his noble sacrifice where he takes the back scratcher from hell from the 10 tails and Obito was breaking Naruto's spirit, it would be because Hinata had been inspired by Naruto in the past and had seen that indomitable fighting spirit of his, that she would be the one to bring him back to reality when that unbreakable spirit was truly about to break. So close that Madara himself was grinning, comparing Obito's silver tongue to his own back when Madara was able to break Obito's spirit through his words in that winners and losers speech that he gave him after Rin died. Hinata still held on to the spirit of the academy student who she saw stumbling and bumbling his way along, and she slapped the spirit of that academy student back into the oh so powerful Naruto. She single-handedly relit the fire of his fighting spirit. It was all because of the strength that she found from watching Naruto at his back. She was in no way anywhere strong enough to be anywhere near on Naruto's level, but Naruto through his own actions inspired Hinata to build that strong sense of character and the intangible elements of her character in order to finally stand beside Naruto. While she herself initially wanted to become strong enough to stand beside him, training super hard to do so physically, it was due to the impact that Naruto had on her that she was able to do so in spirit as his equal, all while knowing that Naruto was the one who was still in front of her and that she needed to support him by having his back. It was her who would be able to actually break through and stand beside him on a spiritual level when Naruto needed it the most. It was the long payoff on what we discussed earlier. You never know when there are people who are watching you. You never know who will be inspired by your words or by your actions, and you never know when those who are inspired by you will end up being the ones to support you when you're facing your toughest challenges. The people you see on the way up are the same ones you see on the way down. For Naruto, he might have defeated some of the most strongest people in the ninja world's history, and he might have saved the world more times than he has children, but in my humble opinion, his greatest accomplishment is saving the young girl in Hinata who stood a chance at being lost in the nothingness, broken into 1,000 tiny pieces and never made whole again, which is why that is the single greatest measure of who Naruto Uzumaki is, because it is through watching how he inspired Hinata and affected her character that we appreciate his greatness. If you enjoyed this video essay, make sure to click on this link above to check out the other video essays that you see in the playlist on the screen.